Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Let's Roleplay. I'm your host, Duhad, and I'd like to introduce you to our players for today's very special session of what is going to be a short run of a Ragamuffins game unrelated to the normal Ragamuffins game. Haven't actually thought of a name for it yet, but whatever the name at the top of the videos are, that's going to be the name of this little series. With me, as always, is Belial.
Hi.
And joining us for the first time is Bean.
Hello.
Bean is not new to the not new to the group, but new to the channel. So hope everybody enjoy says a nice howdy and all that good stuff. For right now, this is going to be the size of our group, just 2 people. Hopefully, Zombie will be joining us in the next session. But basically, what's going to be going on is because Star Wars is going to kind of take over for a while as the primary game being run on the channel. I decided to throw together a little side project so that while Team 1 is doing their thing, Team A and Bean will have the opportunity to engage in a little light role-playing on the side with a little ragamuffin short story. So hope you all enjoy, and we'll see how this all goes. Also, as a quick note up front, Bean, this is your first time playing Low Gravity, correct?
Yes.
So that's fine. I'm going to go through this a little bit slowly. So anyone who is who's already watched the previous Ragamuffins game, bear with us a little bit if we kind of start off a touch on the slow side, just because that's what we tend to do when we're introducing someone to a campaign. And without further ado, let's get into it. And we'll begin by introducing the characters. So, Belial, why don't you start us off?
All right. So, I'm playing in Uluru, which we haven't seen yet on the channel for the system. But anyway, think of them as tiny pandas. Tiny psychotic pandas.
Very, very angry pandas.
Yeah, so I'm playing a white Uluru, which is basically a polar bear of that race, named Chloe Bonzer, and she is a soldier coming into this area with aspirations to become famous one day, in order to investigate this thing.
Yeah.
So.
And what she's investigating, we will get into in a moment. But first, Bean, who are you playing?
My character is named Ronnie. He's a Jundi, and he's just here to keep a stable job so he can get some money, both for regular food and stuff, and also just to keep interest alive. And he is here as well to investigate.
Excellent, yes. And the reason they're both here to investigate is because they are both working for a... Actually, I'm going to do a quick rundown of the Ragamuffin setting. I know we've gone over this before in the previous Ragamuffins campaign, but I'll be quick about it, just for anyone who's joining in for the first time here. Ragamuffins is set in a universe not unlike our own, in which humanity allied very early on in its spaceflight history with a race of psionic aliens called the Jundai, who Bean is playing a member of.
Together, frog wizards.
Yeah, basically frog lizards. And they quickly aligned themselves with a warrior race called the Shamarins, big militant birds. And together they formed what was called the Terran Federation. And the Federation swept out across the galaxy, conquered and established civilization across the inner rim, the mid rim, where they conquered and kind of enslaved a species of aquatic aliens called the Rig Titus, or the Titus. They're now referred to as the Rig Titus for reasons we won't get into because it's not really relevant to this game. And basically expanded out and had control over just about everything until they stretched a little too far, and in the outer rim, their military conquest was ground to a halt by a mysterious force, which managed to, rally and drive them back. And as they were driven back, the mid-rim rebelled, and now the Federation has been pushed back to the inner rim. And the people of the mid-rim are basically independent crooks and criminals and megacorps and all sorts of crazy nonsense. And the people in the outer rim are starting to actually establish themselves as an actual presence. And the people of the Outer Rim, and we are now in the Outer Rim, also referred to as the Frontier, are the Chirons, these big bug fellers. The Uluru, actually the Chirons come in two forms, big bug ladies, little bug men. The Uluru, pandas, as Bleel's playing, and the Scavs, a race of lizard-like pirates and scavengers who are pretty much hated by everybody because, well, they tend to steal people's stuff, and often quite violently, though they are, by and large, not entirely unfriendly. They're just not big on the whole concept of personal ownership, and can be kind of difficult to deal with. Basically, their entire civilization is a cargo cult. But all that being said, you guys are out in the Frontier. You are out here in the if the Mid Rim is, crooks and criminals, the Frontier is just total lawless anarchy. At least that's what people tend to think. However, those people are not entirely correct, because good people like your employers, who are a group calling themselves Federation Security, have been established to help ensure a sort of peace and stability for the people of the Mid Rim, for the Outer Rim, for the Chiron colonists and the Uluru tribals and the Scav clans tend to, run their own stuff and no one really likes them, but, they're still occasionally around and they need people to prevent innocent Scav civilians getting beat up by people pissed off at other Scavs stealing their stuff. And that's where you come in. You're basically the Rim's equivalent to, police officers, sort of. Very unofficial.
So is the colony that we're going to be investigating, is it primarily Chirons, or is it a Scav colony? Or
it is a primarily Chiron colony. Scavs tend not to have colonies. They tend to be nomadic, but they will settle in other people's colonies. Or will kind of travel around in big ships where like an entire Scav clan will live as like a community. But again, not in this case. You guys are actually on a proper permanent colony run by Chirons. And these Chirons, like the way the Chiron colonies work is because they're bugs, because they're digger like they dig. They're diggers. They tend to burrow deep when they build their colonies, and so while on the surface of the planet, and you see this as you kind of come in, we're going to be picking up after you've already kind of moved in to meet with the mayor, but as you come in, you actually see that the colony on the surface looks very small, very, very modest. But that's only because as you come into it and are allowed inside, you find that the thing is like, close to like 50 floors deep, all dug deep into the earth in kind of a reverse cone. Like it narrows like a pyramid, like a pyramid in reverse. So it's very wide on the outside and then slowly narrows as it goes further and further into the earth. And while it is primarily a Chiron colony, there's a small there are small populations of both Uluru and Scavs who live here. And there's a bit of tension. Chirons are pretty open-minded people in general and tend to be pretty friendly. But A, no one likes the Scavs, and B, the Uluru can be difficult neighbors. With the tensions running high in this colony, as machinery keeps on breaking down and people keep going missing, racial tensions between these different groups have started to really ratchet up. And so it is believed to be very important that you guys step in and help solve things before it gets totally out of hand. And the Chiron governor who runs this place, his name is Michael Isley. Michael Isley, who is your contact here, is the governor. He really, 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 really wants things to go nice and smoothly, and he pays a decent amount of money to Federation Security to have things go smoothly. So the fact that things are kind of getting out of hand right now has him on edge, and he's been very insistent that they send a lot of people, but instead they sent you two, because as far as problems go, some broken equipment and a couple of missing persons reports is pretty small fry.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're kind of coming in as the cavalry, but not as the cavalry this guy really wanted, and he's not exactly like you can already tell just by like how he sounded on the phone as you were coming in that he is not really happy about all this.
Yeah.
So again, so that's kind of like the situation you have as you're flying in, and you land, and the ship that brought you in leaves pretty much immediately after you guys arrive. Like, they're not here to stay. They will pick you up when the job is done.
All right.
Yeah, so this is another quick note about the planet, and I'm just letting you know all these details now, but so that you don't have to worry too much about them later on. But one of the very important facts about this colony is that this planet suffers from massive dust storms, and when the dust storms start, it can block off, travel both onto and off of the colony for weeks to even months on end. So you guys are really hoping to get your job done and leave before the dust clouds really start kicking up, because it's getting to that time of year.
Okay.
All right. So as you arrive, an aide comes to greet you, a little Chiron man, and he drives up in a little buggy and gets out, and as you get off the ship, and says, "Oh, good, you're here."
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Yes, the governor's been waiting for you. Please, would you mind coming with me now? We're arranging a place for you all to stay while you're here, but it's very important that you get right on this matter.
Alrighty then.
Sure thing.
Of course. All right, he leads you to the car, and as you get into it, he takes off, and he's very nervous, and as you drive, he explains, things have been terrible here, just terrible. People keep on disappearing, and important things keep breaking down. If the food processors, water purifiers, if those go out during the dust storm, it could cause us real problems. You don't want to be stuck on a colony this size if there's a water shortage and no outside help. Especially the dust storms are really bad this year, and they look like they might be.
Well then, I guess we have to get it done quickly, eh?
It would be wonderful if you could.
That's the plan.
Yeah, he looks at you both and then asks a little nervously, and the rest of your team, will they be arriving on the next shuttle?
Think so.
Oh,
Most likely.
Oh, good. Not that I'm, again, I'm sure you two will be more than sufficient, but it's a big colony, and yes. Anyway, here's the governor's palace.
What type of armor is Bean? What's your character's name again?
Ronnie.
Yeah. What's Ronnie wearing? Like armor? Like, and if so, like, what kind of armor?
He just has very thick clothing. That's the only armor quotes he has.
Yeah.
Also, what is your character's name again?
Chloe Bonzer.
Cool.
Chloe is fine.
Yeah, you can just call them Chloe.
Yeah.
Chloe and Ronnie. And Chloe, by the way, is wearing, I believe, medium armor?
Medium armor, and is sporting a very large spear. Well, relative to her size, it's actually not super large for anyone else.
Ronnie, I believe, is just carrying a sizable club.
Yeah, he just has a club.
Yes.
And
also,
the mayor looks at us and is like, "Wait, you don't have firearms?"
Well, Ronnie has grenades as well.
He has grenades.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so actually, that's kind of thing. It's probably hidden under your clothes, but yeah, you Ronnie essentially looks like a bit of a monk with like these like layers of thick clothing around his body.
Probably very wet too. Since,
Yeah, the Chirons like to keep themselves
like
moist. So
probably
it's
wearing
like
some goggles or something, or to protect yourself from the dry air of the planet. At least
I
that's what
did
I
not
meant.
write that in, but that would
that's
make a
fair,
lot
yeah.
of sense.
So yeah, he probably has like a mask on and all this stuff, but then like under these clothes, he's got this belt of grenades.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you arrive at the governor's palace, which isn't really much of a palace. It's more of a large house, really. Like this is not exactly a wealthy colony, and it's clear that the governor is not exactly making enough to really live it up in their accommodations. But it's still a nice house, and as you're led inside the front door, you're actually greeted by a robotic butler, which is not a very nice-looking robot. It's a Chiron bot, which means it's kind of junky.
Male or female model?
Was it?
Male or female model?
Male model.
Oh, okay.
Because it is a.
So it's very tiny.
Yeah, it's a servant. So it's meant to be kind of a lower class servant. So it's built off of male model. Chirons have a little bit of a matriarchal society thing going on. But it's a little guy with the big things sticking out of the top of his head, and a little round head with big yellow eyes, big yellow glass eyes. And he takes over for the driver and says, "Right this way. The mistress will see you now. Can I take your coats?" He looks very carefully at Ronnie, who has the heavy layers on.
He kind of just waves him off, like, no, it's all good.
Very well. In that case, this way. And he has this little waddle that's very like proper waddle with his arms kind of going up and down as he leads you to a pair of large wooden doors and opens them up, and through them you can see a desk piled high with papers and a huge Chiron lady. Like Chiron women are huge in general, like they're very tall. But this one is especially huge. Like this one looks like they might in human terms this would be like a pro wrestler, like a male pro wrestler. And she is leaning over this desk and seems almost too wrapped up in her work to notice you until the butler makes. Yeah, obviously he's a robot, so he doesn't clear his throat, but he like basically plays a throat clearing sound out of his speakers. And
it's like a stock
yeah.
noise.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't even sound like him. It's like this is very. Ma'am, your guests are here to see you. She looks up and blinks and says, "Oh, good. There you are. Come in. You're with the federal security, are you?"
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. So you have your team, and she frowns as she looks over both of you. Has I assume not fully arrived yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, not all are here yet.
Expect to see more.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see her like hand starting to like kind of like tense and squeeze, like clamp, and you like she knows that you guys are the only ones sent here, but she's like hoping that there's going to be some sort of twist and that it's like there's actually more of you. So she's like kind of stressed out, but kind of like, okay, no, it's still possible. They're saying there's more people coming. It's possible.
So, does she know that there will be 3 of us, or that we told her there was only going to be the 2?
She was told that 3 people would arrive, but now that she sees only 2 of you and you're saying that like the rest of your team will be here, she's hoping that means that there was a miscommunication, that there's more people.
All right.
So she says, okay, so you're, I won't waste your time. You're here about the troubles.
Yep.
I suppose you'll be wanting details?
Yes, please.
That would be preferable.
Of course. Now, you have to understand, this colony is in a precarious position with our demographics. She kind of like moves some papers aside and pulls out a little graph of showing like the population of the colony. We have the large majority of our people are Chirons, and well, things have been running rather smoothly in most sectors, even with the troubles, even though there has been some obvious concerns. However, many of the disappearances and the damages have been occurring here. And she points to a section pretty low in the facility, in the colony, like down to about like level 30. And she says, this area is home to a very large population of scavs. An entire small clan has actually made their residence there. We're not entirely sure why. Not that they don't have every right to, of course.
Chloe just has a disgusted look on her face.
Yeah. There's not that they aren't allowed to, or not that there's anything wrong with that. They have, for the most part, kept themselves to themselves and not caused us many troubles. But recently, the number of the sabotages, the rate of sabotage has increased, and a number of disappearances have occurred, all within this area. And as you might imagine, many of our people are concerned that the scavs might be responsible. She kind of leans back a little bit and says, if this pattern continues, we could be looking at riots or violence. Well, there's no actual proof that the scavs are behind this. It's relatively clear that there's at least some sort of correlation, and as you know, people tend to equate correlation with causation. So, I would very much appreciate it if you could go there and see if you can't dig up some sort of evidence. At the very least, if you can find, at best, hopefully you can find the saboteur and punish them. At the very least, hopefully you can, well, if it is the scavs, you can figure out which ones are doing it, and we can hopefully divert some of the aggression that the population is feeling towards the community as a whole onto a few individuals, and avoid full-scale riots.
Alrighty then. Yeah, we'll take a look at it.
Of course. Do you need anything? Any, I don't know, accommodations, passes, rights, anything like that? I can provide you with badges showing that you are representing that you are, essentially outside security forces, and therefore we'll have access to all of the information and security clearances that our own local security forces have.
Yeah.
Yes, that'd be very helpful.
Can we also get some lying around scrap in case the lizards want to trade something?
I suppose that's understandable. She opens her desk drawer and pulls out a pair of badges, like little silver badges, and hands them to both of you, and then says, I believe that that we can find a few pieces of useful, some trinkets and communicators and maybe a couple of small ship parts. The scavs tend to go crazy for those sorts of things.
Alrighty then. Another question. Can you, on your next demographics graph, please, separate red Alubrus from white?
She looks kind of nervous at that and says, I'm not entirely sure if that would be wise. They're...
Sorry, not asking.
Oh, of course. If this is something Federation...
It's a bit silly if someone were to look at it, of this tiny little panda intimidating a big, huge bug.
Oh, yeah, no, it looks absurd, but, she is clearly nervous. this colony is really reliant at this point on Federation security, and so basically you have enough, like you guys have enough clout to kind of push them around a little bit. Though obviously you should be careful about pushing your limits.
Yeah.
But she says, oh, of course, and I will arrange a place for you both to sleep tonight, as well as quarters for the rest of your, rest of your team. Do you have a preference on where you'd like to stay? We have quarters here in the government district. We have quarters available in the near the spaceport, and we have quarters down lower into the. In the colony, nearer to where things are actually, happening. Is there any of these locations strike you as where you'd like to, stay with us?
Chloe just like stays in silent and just glances at Ronnie's reaction.
Ronnie kind of glances at her as well and shrugs, like, the location closest to everything?
Of course.
He offers it, but...
Yeah, she smiles and, like, clasps her hands together. Of course, yes. Naturally, of course, that you want to be near the action. Excellent, I will make sure that's arranged.
Ronnie just kind of goes, right. Then looked at Chloe to see if that was actually the right thing to do.
Yeah. She responds by doing a okay sign with a obviously forced smile.
Ronnie shrugs like, oh, okay, and he shoves his hand in his pocket.
Yeah, like the mayor, the governor doesn't actually seem to notice any of this, as she's too busy like making notes and like apparently getting things ready for you two. But as she's doing this, the butler comes up behind you both and says, "I am to take you down to the scav quarters. Please follow me."
All right.
He kind of fusses his way out the door and leads you back to the car, which has been waiting. And then he offers you in, and you see the same chauffeur who brought you to the governor's palace is still here, still waiting. Says,
why does every single Chiron colony have the worst stench of just fucking bug shit?
Cause they're bugs. Ronnie is not the brightest.
That's fair. The little butler like ignores this like this not terribly polite conversation, and like as he closes the door, closes one of the doors and kind of like moves over to close the other door for you, it says, "Will there be anything else you need today?"
Make sure to provide some ice and bring it to us. It gets hot cramped down in there. I know it's not the same for and probably bring some cold water every morning for
of course
Ronnie.
Of course, ma'am.
Yes.
He looks at Ronnie and says, "Would sir prefer that I ensure that grenades are provided for them in the morning?"
Grenades?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, sure.
You seem to be armed with grenades. We would hate for you to find yourself lacking in time of crisis.
Ronnie seems a bit bewildered that they caught on to the fact he had grenades, and just like, okay, yes, I like grenades.
The Chiron bot, he doesn't have an actual proper face, but he just nods, and you can see his little eyes are kind of like zooming in and out, and like you actually kind of get the impression that he might be like way more sophisticated than he looks. But he bows out and closes the door, and the driver takes off again. And as you're driving, the driver looks back at you both and says, "So, meeting with the governor went well?"
Yeah.
Well, Ronnie has a big smile on because of what the bot is doing for him.
Yes, nice.
Chloe does not.
The little Chiron driver actually, like, looking back in the mirror, sees Ronnie smiling and gets a little nervous. Like, when big old toothy frog aliens are smiling near bugs, they tend to get a little on edge side. And he says, you look happy. So things look like they might get resolved nice and quick then, actually.
Well, I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
Maybe.
He seems oblivious to the driver's wariness around him.
Scabs, then, knowing scabs, we're gonna have to make a lot of arrests.
Oh, you're going down to to that part of town, are you? He
Yep.
shakes his head. You got to be careful down there. There's some nasty customers.
You can. We will. Hi, kitty.
No, he turns back and actually kind of gives you like a look and says, "I'm serious. I'm serious. There's they try and keep it on the DL, but I hear tell that there's a pirate crew down there amongst the clan."
I mean, how tough can a bunch of dumb lizards be?
Tougher than you'd think, though. I guess you two, you're pretty tough customers yourselves. Just keep your eyes open. Those sneaky lizards can be pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
And the car, enters an elevator, and the elevator slowly starts like sinking down. And as it's going, it actually goes faster and faster. As it like kind of goes quickly from floor 1 to floor 30, and you're let out, and he continues driving. And now that you're deeper down into the colony, it's weird down here. Like, it's actually brighter than it was on the surface. Like the fluorescent lights over top are a little bit nicer, a little bit more illuminating. But they're not natural looking at all. Like, they kind of have this blue glow to them that makes the entire area kind of feel very harsh and unnatural. And it actually, like, one of the things about blue light is that it kind of makes you feel energized. Though,
well, I remember hearing that like some cities put blue streetlights in to make it so that people are calmer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing with like blue light is it's soothing. But actually, no, sorry, I'm thinking of yellow light. But yeah, blue light is calming. Stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Because pale yellow light is harder to sleep in than bright blue light.
Yeah, but they've kind of got to the thing in order to try and look. It's not meant to look natural. Is the thing. It's meant to kind of. It's meant to be kind of like it's meant to kind of put actually kind of get away from the idea of natural light, and it sort of gets you on edge a little bit because it makes you kind of realize that this is not a natural colony. Like, this is not a natural place, and that the Chirons, who are themselves subterranean by nature, are trying to make this a comfortable living location for themselves more than anybody else. And it makes you wonder what type of people, like, these scavs must be to want to live here, like to want to live in a place clearly not designed for surface dwelling people. But that's a question you're actually going to have an opportunity to ask yourselves in a moment, because as you drive through the streets, you can see that there are lots of scavs out on the street. Like, there are lots of scavs going about their business here, and there's relatively few Chirons. While all the street signs and everything are still written in the Chiron's native language, a lot of the signs and stuff use a pictographic language very common amongst scav clans. You get this distinctive feeling that, like, this place is culturally almost as alien to the local residents as the rest of the colony is to you. And your driver goes from nervous about Ronnie's, smile to just generally on edge and nervous. He says, "This place is. I don't like to drive here all that often. Cars tend to get, picked to pieces in parts of the city like this."
No kidding.
Ronnie is looking out the windows, very eager to see this new part of the colony.
All right, yeah, it's pretty. Here's the thing, like, one of the things that you'll see, Ronnie, especially because you're kind of looking at this from a more open-minded, like, ooh, this is fun mindset, is that this place is really colorful and fun. Like, there are signs all over the place. There are pictures, like paintings. The robots out on the street have been like painted up to look like they're smiling and like friendly, and like this whole place has this almost childlike sense of kind of wonder. It's almost like going into a picture book. And even though the residents are hulking lizardmen with who are from a race that you yourself know perfectly well, or rather infamous for being criminals, they are dressed in like just all sorts of weird colors, and they smile at you as you drive past. They look place is punched to be here. And as your driver pulls up to a street corner nearby what looks to be a police station, you see you see a couple of scabs kind of walking over to get a closer look at the car before the driver honks his horn, and a pair of armored police officers, security officers, come out to greet you and kind of brusquely shoo away the locals. As the doors open, they say, "You're with FedSec?"
Ronnie gets out of the car and waves at the locals who have just run away, and turns to the officers, and he's like, "Yes, we are with those people."
Good. I wasn't expecting Jundai, but we're happy to have you.
He takes that as a compliment and kind of smiles a bit to himself.
Yeah. The little Chiron male security officer puts out a hand and offers it to you and says, "Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. We really appreciate all the help we can get."
Ronnie eagerly shakes his hand. "It's a pleasure to be here."
They look up past you to how do you pronounce your name, Leo?
Chloe?
Chloe, thank you. I know. My
How do you pronounce Chloe?
Hey, when I see CH, I think Cha. Not Cha, like Chloe. Chol.
Chloe.
It looks like Chol. Like when you actually like look at it, it's like CHLOE. It looks a little bit like it should be pronounced as Chol, but it's not.
No, it shouldn't, because insert dyslexia comment.
Yeah. Anyway, the other question say, you're the, yes, excellent. We heard you be here too. The rest of your team's on its way?
Should be.
Excellent. Well, why don't we take you to the latest site, and hopefully you'll be able to, find something there we haven't been able to. Come on. Yeah.
We'll crack it wide open.
Yeah. It leads you. It leads both of you out into the out into the street, and they kind of you're quickly flanked by three other security officers. There's like four Chiron officers, kind of making a square around you and keeping a bit of a distance between you and the locals. And the locals, they're friendly enough, but they move quickly out of the way as the security officers, push their way through. And as you're brought to the location, to the crime scene, you can see that the whole area is like taped off. And
Ronnie, while he's been walking with them, has once again resumed looking at all of the surroundings, and he's got a kind of a look of wonder on his face.
It's a pretty city. Like, it's a pretty place, and like if this is your first time in a underground Chiron colony, it's real crazy looking. Like it's a trip and a half.
A bit too cramped for me.
But when you get to the location, the sabotage, it's less spectacular. It looks like a big old blocky building, like a pretty standard factory style building. But of course, being underground, it doesn't like have a roof properly. It's more that it's just built straight up into the ceiling, and so you just have this giant square block, wedged in between the floor and the ceiling. And as you're let inside, the light in here is harsh. Like it's like to use a real world example for a second here, it's like going into a grocery store or a big box store where the lighting is meant to kind of show off the products, but is not terribly, flattering.
While they had been walking in, Ronnie he cranes his neck back to try and look up as high as he can, and then once they enter, he, with having his eyes super wide open to catch everything, he got kind of blinded a bit, so he shields his eyes from the light.
Yeah, the one of the security officers is giving you a look now, just what the hell? What is this? The chief seems to be doing his level best to ignore your bizarre behavior. It's no. These people are. We need these people. Do not acknowledge the fact that they're strange as hell.
It's just a Jundai. It's probably normal for them to act this way.
Yeah, that just must be how they act. Don't draw attention to it. But as
don't want to be racist.
Oh God, yeah. But as you enter,
racial tensions are already really bad.
They're already pretty high. But yeah, as you enter the place, and you get inside, you see that that this large new building is kind of like a reactor. Like there's these big engines going, and they seem to be pumping something. And you're not sure if it's fuel or water or sewage or what, but they seem to be, it seems to be like a processing plant of some sort. And while there are lined across, around this area, there are 6 big pumping machines, and one of them is wrecked. One of them has been torn to pieces. And it's clear that this whole area used to be soaked, this whole area had flooded and has been cleaned up before your arrival, but it is still a mess. And the security chief, just lets you in and says, "You can see what these animals did to this place."
Ronnie looks at him and goes. He just asks, "So what were these pumps pumping?"
This whole area is a water treatment facility. A colony of this size can't survive on fresh water being pumped in every day. So we have to, especially with the storm. So what we have to do is ensure that no matter what happens, our people have fresh water, which usually means recycling. These pumps over here, he points to a set, the first set of 3. These take in, undrinkable liquids and filter them. And then he points to the 2 remaining properly functioning pumps and the 1 broken one. And these 2, they're cleansing once the water is cleansed, they're giving it a second filtration to make sure that it's as safe as possible before it's circled back into circulation. This isn't the only plant like this, but it's the one furthest down, and the one currently delivering water to our miners deeper, who are expanding the colony to a new level.
Wow.
Have other water facilities been hit before?
Actually, yes. They're not the only places being hit, but the water and food systems are actually being hit pretty hard.
When did these start up?
Well, the first attack like this, and at the time we just assumed it was a couple of breakdowns, was about 2 months ago now. A couple of food processors broke down and needed to be repaired. So the problem is, it wasn't just that they were breaking down, it's that parts were being destroyed. Then some of our ships started getting, broken down. Parts would go missing, people would get stranded. He kind of thumbs back in the direction of the colony. Part of the reason we have so many damn scavs here is that one of their colony ships was in the area and ended up getting broken down. Half the scavs currently living here came from that ship and are waiting for their for their home to be rebuilt. The only problem is they seem to have kind of given up on the hopes of having it rebuilt and are just focusing on turning this place into their own new home. Anyway, he kind of points to the thing. We don't usually get things quite as blatant as this, but more as time's gone on, the attacks have been getting worse and worse. The whole area is getting torn apart, not just broken down. Ships being scrapped to pieces. Then he kind of scowls and looks from Ronnie to Chloe and says, "And our people have started going missing. People who work in these plants, people whose job it is to keep this place secure. Some of my own security officers, like anyone who's in these areas when the sabotage happens, used to be that they just happen whenever no one was around to prevent this sort of thing from happening. Now it happens despite those people being in place to stop it."
That's disgusting.
Goddamn right.
So Ronnie has gone from that wide-eyed wonder of the whole place. He's turned very serious and is going over all these facts in his mind. So he turns to the officer who's been talking the most and asks him, have you tried any, keeping some contacts open or something when keeping guards around the place and having some form of walkie-talkie or something with them so that you can always keep in constant contact or something like that.
He nods and holds up essentially a walkie-talkie of his own and waits a little bit. We've been trying that, but it's not worked. This place right here was about as secure as you could hope for, but first we heard about it was a big old commotion. And a bunch of scavs running around this place like goddamn little crazy people. By the time we managed to push through them and get inside here, the whole place had been torn to pieces, and the security officers were just gone. Funny thing is, they didn't call. They didn't try to call, at least as far as we can tell.
He's some kind of jammer was there or something.
I suppose that's the most likely possibility, but I don't know if these scavs have access to that sort of technology.
Do we have some form of walkie-talkies or something on us?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I just turn mine on and see if it's obstructed in any way?
No, it seems to be working just fine right now. I mean, it's a little, it's underground, so it's a little bit loose. There's a little bit of static, but it's overall seems okay.
Oh. Well, it seems to be fine right now.
It could be that they, set something up and then pulled it apart before we arrived, along with all the bodies.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that concerns me is why they want the bodies. I mean, I don't think they eat them. He scowls back at the door. Wouldn't put it past him, but I don't think they're quite that horrifying.
Uh-huh.
You ever had any sort of experience with these pirates? Out there in space when you're flying about?
Only a couple times.
Yeah.
Ronnie just kind of shrugs.
Mostly tolls.
Right. Ever
pirate ships just fly right in front of you, and then they ask for a bunch of scrap in exchange for not blowing you up.
Have you ever see them try anything like this before? You know, kidnapping or...
Not from what I know of, but knowing those dirty lizards, I have no idea that they're probably. I wouldn't put it past them.
Well, if they're behind it, I know who's responsible. Only problem is trying to take her out would be like kicking a viper's nest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly why we usually pay the toll.
Yeah. Well, I just mean specifically in this case, the leader of a ship that landed here not too long ago ended up stranded here along with the others, but different clan. See. Well, we figured they might be pirates, and their captain, she's a dangerous sort, real aggressive like. And we figure if like any of the scavs are responsible, it's probably her people.
Our name?
Red Tooth.
Red Tooth.
Yeah, she's a little fire spitter, but yeah, be careful. Yeah, as I said, if you go.
Oh, is Red Tooth well known?
Not very famous, but actually, roll me knowledge.
Yeah.
Either of you can roll knowledge. Roll 2d10 brains plus knowledge if you have the knowledge skill.
$19.
Okay.
21.
21. Bean. Ronnie actually knows a little bit about it. God damn, I'm trying to remember your characters. I'm so bad at it.
Chloe.
Sorry. Chloe.
If you need to remember a name, it can just be Bonzer.
That's true.
That's easier for you.
I don't know why it's so hard for me. But anyway, Chloe, you're having a little trouble remembering it. Sounds like you might know it, but Ronnie, you actually remember this. There is actually a captain. Captain Redtooth is a pirate captain in the area. Rather infamous as well. She's kind of got a she's got a bit of a reputation for not really like brutality or anything, but like just being very successful at attacking and looting ships and selling off the things. Like as far as scavs go, she's a pretty rich one, and her crew is reasonably well off. Her name comes from the fact that she has replaced her her upper jaw, like the teeth on her upper jaw, with a bunch of weird red metal fake teeth, which she considers to no one's entirely sure if she did so because she thought that it was like an extraordinarily extravagant thing and that it made her look rich, or if it's a weird intimidation thing. But either way, she's got a big red, like half a red smile, and that kind of is her signifier.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. We better go and investigate in that. Now, who is the leader of the first group of scavs?
Oh, the leader of the first group? He's harmless enough. We just call him Patches. He's got a couple of scars. He kind of points to various places on his face and arms, all over the place. But he's harmless enough. Not exactly a pleasant individual, scav after all, but harmless. Unlike this Redtooth.
Mm-hmm.
Only problem is he and Redtooth seem to get along pretty well, and we're worried if we go and really try and knock on Captain Redtooth's door, and suddenly we might have a problem with Patches. And if Patches decides to start causing problems and riles up all of his people, suddenly we don't have we don't have these scavs maybe going around sabotaging our equipment. We have a whole clan of them running around and smashing up our people. Now, we could probably, we'd win if it came to a fight, but it would be a costly one, and no one wants to, no one wants that.
Well, we'll take a look at it.
All right. He takes out a map and like kind of makes 2 notes. Right here is the bar Captain Redtooth frequents. If you want to find her, this would be the place to look. And he draws a circle around a store a little further away on the other side of the floor and says, "And this here is where Patches is. He runs this store with his family, or his closest family. How Scav clans are. They're all, most of these people are related to each other in some way. But, there's his wife, his kid, I think his grandmother or something. Anyway, point is, they're here."
Right. Well, let's hop to it then.
Ronnie looks like he has a few questions, but he's decided to just put that off till they meet the scavs.
Yeah. Okay. And that's going to be our first hour, so we're going to take a little break here. We'll see you guys soon. Just hold on a minute, and we'll be right back.